Ring that bell in my ears so I become a person.
Wake up, it's Monday.
Welcome to See You in the Lobby, the week of the actual WNBA season. Marissa, we did it.
Woo! And we're actually back in the lobby.
We're actually back in the lobby. Actually, it's been a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm still liking it.
I know. I think don't get too used to it, folks. It's coming off. It has to come off.
But the people like it. The people like it.
The people like it. The people closest to me in my circle, unfortunately, have made too many jokes about it, and I think it's time to go. But it had a nice life. I'm happy it was here. But I'm happier the WNBA season started.
Same. It's gonna be a fun season.
On Friday, we finally get a fresh slate of games. We finally don't have to do the who's gonna be better. The Aces or the Liberty. We can actually see these teams on the court. We have a long week ahead though. It's cut week, which is just
it's not the best week.
Not my favorite week. We can start there, honestly.
Let's do it.
We were just trying to figure out what we were talking about this morning, and then we see Abby Myers, number 11 pick for the Dallas Wings, gets cut. Not a huge surprise because we knew Dallas had like 40 picks and they weren't going to be able to keep all of them. But pretty crazy that 5 weeks after the draft, to the day, 35 days, she got to play in 0 professional games. The number 11 pick, a first rounder, gone. Sucks.
It sucks, but it's not surprising. I think that's what's frustrating for me is I read some of this commentary on social media around people being outraged and shocked at some of the cuts we've already seen. There's a couple of things. Obviously, first and foremost, we know there needs to be expansion teams. We've been saying that for forever.
Or rosters.
Yeah, or roster spots. So when you look at what these teams already have, you can be a solid college player. Okay, let me take a step back. You can be a solid men's college player and make it on an NBA team. You can't do that in the W because there's just not enough spots and there's not enough teams. No. So you can't, I think, because that's what you see so often is just this middle of the road college men's player makes it on an NBA team. So we're conditioned to think like that way.
Correct.
But it's not like that in the W. There's just not enough spots. There's not enough teams. So these cuts so far haven't surprised me because again, these players that have been cut have been solid. They were solid college players. You have to be an elite player or do something very, very well. Abby Myers had a great college career and she took her game to a next level at Maryland. But what does Abby do great?
Shoot. Not at the level that you need to be to make a roster.
If you're not an elite player coming out of college, you have to do that one thing well. And at the bare minimum, you have to be able to defend. And I think Abby didn't really have those things. So I think the players that you see cut, I think that's the thing. It's they're not elite and they don't have that one thing that they do especially
which
well.
As you're saying though is super wild because you get that level of leniency in pretty much any other sports league where you're all right, maybe they're not great at all of these things that we need them to be great at right now, but give them 2 years to develop. We think this player could be in our rotation. Yeah. There's no grace in the W. You were drafted 5 weeks ago. Is your bag what we needed to be to win a championship right now? We don't have time for you.
It's we talked about right after the draft. Everything is so accelerated. And to your point, you always bring up we don't have a G League.
Nope.
Our G League is going overseas, but it does make it that much more tough because then it's the next iteration of draft players and
by the time you're ready to come back, there's a whole new fleet.
So if you were a player that get cut or you are a player that get cut, all is not lost. You've heard stories since the beginning of the W. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say we have so many more cuts to come as a thing.
We're
recording the show on a Monday. I think by Wednesday night we said more players have to get cut by before the season starts on Friday.
By the end of this today.
Do you want to share your story that we were talking about before the show? About cuts
for sure. I remember my rookie season in DC. We are in the loading docks heading to the airport for the first game of this season, and they still had not made final cuts. So everybody's on the bus. There's 2 players in particular that they knew was coming. It was no secret that it was down between those 2 players. And I can't, Mag, you have to be saying this all the time. I can't emphasize enough that we were on the bus heading to the airport for our first game, and they send our equipment manager to the bus. And she grabs one of the players off, and we're like, oh gosh, that's who it is. 2 minutes later, she comes back and we're like, what's happening? She's like, I don't know. They just told me to come back. Then our equipment manager comes on the bus and gets the other player. And we're like, okay, maybe that has to be it. That happened 3 times of them coming on and off the bus. Because they couldn't decide who they wanted. Like, imagine the emotional like roller coaster you're going through as that player.
So they were both packed, ready to go on this trip.
Packed. Their jerseys were packed. They were on the, but like they had to. And then it's just like tough because we're all on the bus. It was very uncomfortable. And then it's 3 weeks of training camp and you've built these relationships with players. Like you're doing things on and off the court. Like, and we had a very like close knit team all the way through that year in Washington. So it was tough. Like you build these relationships with people and then you see, I don't want to say like the coaches and GM did this maliciously because I don't think they had like malicious intent, but it's just like, come on. Like you needed until literally the last moment to decide.
And they eventually picked one?
Picked one.
Said, get off the bus and go home?
They eventually picked one, and then a few weeks later, end up cutting her and bringing the other one.
Shut up. This feels like a bad episode of The Bachelor.
Yeah, it's just like... It was not good. But there definitely going to be other cuts, and I think I would caution people. So, like, it's not... Like, I think people take it so personally. Like, it's not a personal thing. It's a business. And while these players may have been your favorite in college and they may have done so well for your favorite college team, it doesn't translate a lot of times. Like you are literally playing like my best friend Crystal Langhorne says it all the time. The WNBA is the hardest professional league in the world to make. And it's so true. Look at all these cuts.
Yep.
And having played in that league, like it is tough because everybody is so good because there's only this many spots.
You have to be one of the best 10 players in your draft class to make a roster, pretty much.
Literally, and that's
number 11 already didn't make it. Number 11 didn't make it. Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like these other professional leagues, the talents disperse because there's so many teams and there's opportunities. Look at the NFL. They have, the injury reserve, the practice squad.
Yep.
NBA has the G League. Baseball has minor leagues. And you can get the W doesn't have that. They don't have the developmental league. They don't have extra roster spots. There's no practice squad. So it's literally the hardest to make. So it doesn't mean they're not good. It just means that
it's gonna be a hell of a few weeks. You want to ring us in?
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to wake us up, guys. We're struggling on this Monday.
I know. I want to talk about Aliyah Boston signing an Adidas deal.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of an upset since her links were to Under Armour before this.
I was very, very surprised. Yes and no.
Say more.
I was surprised in the fact that because of South Carolina's ties to Under Armour, I believe she had an NIL deal with them. She's in the commercials that you see all the time, that she didn't sign with them because of that. But then I'm not surprised because having my own ties to Under Armour, and I don't necessarily think they are one of the brands that truly values women's basketball. So in that way, it didn't surprise me. I mean, they signed Plum, so they probably putting all their eggs in that basket. I was a little shocked that it was Adidas.
Yeah, I read in the ESPN piece that Adidas just flat out had a more lucrative deal. I mean, it sounded like they were just offering more, and I think Aliyah, based on the piece, wanted to follow a little bit in Candace Parker's footsteps as her being her favorite player, and I think she's going to wear some of Candace's PEs, and so that made a lot of sense as well.
Which is that we'll get back to that part. Let's talk about that, so don't let me forget.
Got you.
But it's just crazy to me. Like Under Armour wouldn't throw her a bag. Like you think of South Carolina the one you sponsored.
She's
that
the one.
School. South Carolina is going to be contenders for as long as Dawn is there. Why wouldn't you want to keep that and funnel that? Because for one, like for South Carolina, that's a selling point for you.
Sure.
Come here, go to the pros. This is the trajectory.
Yep.
And then with for Under Armour, it blows my mind in that South Carolina fans, we know how hard they go for their team. So that's a way to further that connection.
Yeah.
And
it seems like you've not saying Aliyah is going to become Asia, but seeing Asia be the star at South Carolina and watching her popularity soar, her game soar. It's like, all right, there's a blueprint for a big from South Carolina making this all work.
Yeah.
So I am a little surprised about that as well.
It's also, I think Adidas I've said this for years, like Nike monopolized women's basketball because they were Nike. It wasn't like they did anything extra. They weren't going above and beyond. I'm not saying they don't do that now, but for many years. But it seems like Adidas has come in now, and like this is a huge area for us. Like we can invest in these women, because you see over the years, it's not everybody just going to Nike anymore. There's more options. Them losing Stewie, in my opinion, was huge. Nike was huge. Her going to Puma, and then you look at Adidas over the last 4 years, the roster they've built, and they've built a roster of not your all just big names.
Yep. Which
I think is helpful.
Agreed. I'm curious too, Marissa, your thoughts on when you were making this decision. Obviously, you were a top pick, and you were searching through who you were going to sign with. Even just comparing it to what Aliyah's position was like. What was yours like? How did you come to your decision? I know you gave a little shade there to Under Armour. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Okay, I mean Puma wasn't in the picture at the time. So for me, it came down to Nike and Under Armour. Everything in me wanted to go with Nike. I was a sneakerhead growing up. I had every pair of Jordans that came out. And it's Nike. But Maryland had just became an Under Armour school. So my senior year, we had Under Armour gear, but they didn't have basketball shoes yet. So we wore Nike shoes. And just like talking to Coach B and then talking to the folks at Under Armour, it just seemed like Kevin Plank graduated from my high school. Kevin Plank graduated from University of Maryland. Like it just seemed like this good story to tell. And I mean, the reps I had while I was with Under Armour were great. I know this is consensus around other players that have been with Under Armour, women's basketball players that have been with Under Armour. They just didn't seem to really invest in or care in women's sports. It almost felt like it's just like a check box, or because of the ties of Under Armour to Maryland, like that's like they had were Maryland players for a while. It was Mia Alyssa Thomas and Crystal Langhorne. So like that was tough, and they've grown tremendously. But when my rookie year, they didn't even have basketball shoes yet.
Yeah.
So that was like not really thinking that through. But no, they were like, you're gonna get your own shoe. You can design it. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was with Under Armour my entire career. It was a great relationship. I just think because they were such an early brand when I signed, that hurt it a little bit. Like now it'd be it's much different. Because again, they didn't even have basketball shoes. So like in training camp, I had to wear Adidas.
Yeah, that's a little...
until I got my shoes.
But what is it like as an outsider? I'm wondering, right? You declare for the draft. You knew you're going to be a top pick right away. How do the companies approach you, and what are they offering? It's
almost like it was like a long. It's like a.
Is it dating? Process. Is it dating? It sounds like you're dating.
Well, no, it's like after your last game, they can start sending you stuff. So like say I'm getting Nike gear, and I'm getting Under Armour stuff. I'm at Final Four for All American stuff, and I walk into my hotel room. It's like a ton of gear, and then but now, I don't even say now, but even back then, like. All of my AAU teams were Nike. So like you could see like I was getting extra gear. Like in high school, we'd get our gear and there was like an extra box for me.
It's like, oh, how did this happen? What size shoe are you, Marissa?
There's like an extra box of stuff for me. So it's kind of like they plant the seeds.
They were going for
and then you see that now with AAU, and that's like AAU is such a one of the biggest businesses in sports, is because these coaches, they promise brands. It's like a pipeline. So, I'm a Nike AAU team. I'm only sending these players to Nike schools. Then they're only getting it. So it's this pipeline. But I mean, it's cool. It's what you dream of. It's like
I only played in 2K, so I want to hear what the real thing is like.
No, it's super cool. It's like it's one in those moments. It's like all the sacrifices you make are so worth it. Like when I go up to Maryland, I talk to the girls, or I talk to AAU teams. The thing I try to emphasize and like beat into their heads so hard is that like make the sacrifices now. I promise you're not going to think about them. Like I didn't go to parties on the weekends in high school. Wasn't having sleepovers at people's homes.
I get it. You had no friends.
I almost gave you the finger. So I missed out on a lot, but I look at the career I had and where I am now. I don't remember any of that. But I digress. It's just in those moments, it's like, it's so cool. It's like I get to pick between two brands that want to pay me to wear their and then I get free shit. Speaking of free stuff, now that I am a real adult, I don't know how people buy this stuff. It's so expensive.
It's very expensive.
I had to like go get new workout gear. I'm like, $120 for some leggings.
That's why I'm in your closet. Like, do you wear those? My foot is similar.
But no, it's super cool, and that's what you work towards. And to have the options, I felt very, very fortunate to have those options and to be able to represent Under Armour for those 10 years. I know I had some things to say, but nobody's perfect. But it was a cool experience.
Well, shouts to Aliyah, and also shouts to anyone who was like, she's not going to make that much money now. She's going to the WNBA and she's not going to get NIL anymore. It turns out the brand deals are there for you in the WNBA.
Yeah, I hate that whole thing too. It's like, you got to give context. We can't just boardroom. You can't just post a statistic that says Aliyah Boston's going to she makes 100 something here. Her rookie salary is $78,000. Like, we need context, because again, not that we care about these people that on women's sports, but it's like, why be so negative? Because it's not true.
Correct.
If you're Aliyah Boston, no, you are going to make a lot more money, because it's not just the NIL deals now. NIL deals are literally just endorsement deals.
Yep.
You don't have a salary coming in. It's just an endorsement deal. 2, she can go overseas and make a lot of money on top of her W salary. And then that W salary will grow. And there's so many other ways to make money. Like, that like really really bothered me.
Aliyah will do well, and it's taken her all of about a month to show that she's going to be just fine.
There were quite a few players that stayed in college because of NIL.
Sure.
But again, they were probably the ones to be cut.
I was going to say they weren't going to be.
Like, they weren't going to make teams. So again, we have to put context into these stories when we talk about it, because it's not an Aliyah Boston deciding to stay an extra year. When Angel Reese says she's going to milk her 5 years, I would do the same thing, because she's making a ton of money.
Yep.
So it's not like picking one or the other. If you have the option, why not? I would have, if I had a 5th year to play in college, and that we didn't have NIL, I would have taken that 5th year just because I loved college so much, and I would have loved a chance to redeem our loss in the Elite 8. So again, it's context.
Yeah, you bring up a good point too. I think it's going to be so situational, right? What Aliyah's obviously was going to be the number 1 pick. We knew this for years, but Angel has a social media following that's tenfold of what Aliyah's is, and that's where she's making her money. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, Aliyah's going to maybe make more money playing basketball. Angel is a great self-endorser. So yeah, she's gonna like, NIL is perfect for Angel. So it just depends on the person.
You're so right. It's situational.
Right. Exactly.
Situational.
It's no shade to anyone. That's just make your money how you're gonna make your money. Like, that's what they're good at.
Because some people are great at social, some aren't.
Sure. Exactly.
It is what it is.
Exactly. Some are good at both.
Yeah.
Neither, but
you're right. Okay, last before we change this, I need to. So you said like Aliyah's gonna wear Candace's shoes.
Yes.
That's so weird to me.
Why?
I would never wear somebody that I'm competing against his shoes.
I kind of like it. It's
never.
You're like,
never.
No matter what, I hate you.
It's a big thing.
What if it was your teammate? Would you do a
my
teammate?
Teammates, yes.
You do a teammate.
I'd rock my teammate's shoes, but I'm
not a competitor.
Ever. If I had the Marissa Coleman's and I looked down and Matt had on the Marissa Coleman's, I played against him, I'm like, oh, he respects me too much. Like, if I could give him buckets. But that's a big thing in the NBA. Like, a lot of NBA, like, so no.
I think that's like a Gen Z culture thing. I think though, it's like, I don't know. They're more of like outwardly idolizing
her favorite player and everything. Yeah, that's just like weird to me.
I think it's nice.
I mean, nice.
Maybe she'll want to take him off after Candace like goes hard at her in their first matchup. But
I mean, I get the storyline they're painting. Like, it's her favorite player. She wants to.
Sure.
Man.
Listen, all right. Well, I'm never gonna wear the Marissa Coleman's apparently. So
they're too exclusive anyway. You wouldn't even be able to get them. You got to go to StockX. And then like the secret code and stuff.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Matt was sick of me talking. He wanted to move on. Just say it next time.
Jeez, I'm gonna get shat on. The WNBA in Canada seemed like a damn success.
It did seem like a success.
You saw that there was a sold out crowd, over 19,000, close to 20,000 people. Merch sold out at halftime. It's pretty clear Canada wants a team. What were your takeaways from from WNBA Canada.
It's exciting. It was super exciting to see that. And not surprising though. Like,
No.
you know, like Natalie Achong went on and some other Canadian national team players. They've always said like Canada wants women's basketball.
Sure.
It was exciting to hear the merch sold out. It's just women's basketball is having its moment. It really feels
Sure
like it. And
is.
it's super exciting to see. I'm sure those players felt good. And again, it's a good way for Toronto to lobby to Kathy and cut down from 100 teams.
I was about to say, are they maybe in the top 10 out of 100?
I don't know. Maybe after this they did. But it's a good way to lobby and say, hey, Toronto is a great place to have a team. Like, look what we're able to do. And it's just for the growth of the game. It's exposing young girls that have never been able to see a WNBA game in person, that have those aspirations. Like, it's like, I see it, I can be that, you know? So I think like that's super important. I'm sure there's plenty of people at that game that's their first time they've ever been to a live women's basketball game. Maybe even their first time seeing a WNBA game. So it's important.
Yeah, I should have said that to be clear too. It was the first time the WNBA has ever played in Canada before. So that is literally, if Canadians did not travel to America, that was their first chance to see it live in person, which is awesome. And I think I would assume this is going to continue to expand. I mean, this was a preseason game selling out. So I would hope we try to find ways to move games into neutral territory sites when it makes sense. Like, is a Commissioner's Cup maybe going to be played in Canada at some point? To me, that
I was like that.
To me, that would make a lot of sense if we're going to have a
that
tournament
idea,
like that.
Matt.
Thank you. Maybe
Matt, you get a reward. Hold on. It's so heavy.
It is.
I don't
really
want
heavy.
you to
Hold
drop
on,
and break it.
Hold on. Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll put your nameplate on it later.
Thanks if you can fit it there. But I think it'd be a good idea. Like, we're gonna make the Commissioner's Cup more interesting every year. We're probably gonna start adding to the total in prize monies. Like, it's gonna become a bigger and bigger thing. Why not serve the audiences that don't get a chance otherwise?
I agree.
Thank you,
Kathy. Do you hear Matt? I think you should listen to his idea.
Thank you. And also, we found out at that event we are now down to 10 locations.
How do you go from 100 to 10 in a week?
Because literally nobody could name 100 cities. I'm gonna call absolute. It was a lie. There's just not 100 cities you could legitimately name for that. Anyway, WNBA Canada, you did a good job, even if you had that giant orange lady. Which, listen, respect her, respect her. But I have questions. Ring the bell. Marissa, I want to do some over-unders.
Okay.
The sports books have gotten a little better this year with their offerings. And what they have this year is team over-unders.
Okay.
What it means is there's a number associated with each team. That is the line. You have to guess if that team is going to win more than that amount of games or less than that amount of games. Reminder, this is the first WNBA season.
Tell the people, Matt, I know these things.
True.
I'm a better these days.
Also true. Reminder, there are now 40 games in a WNBA season. No longer.
That I didn't know.
That I had a reminder about. So there are more chances to win games. Marissa, I want to go rapid fire with this. You have like 5 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to count.
Okay.
You got to say over, under,
Okay.
and then if you can get like a little like this for this reason, like real quick.
Okay.
You got to throw that in there as well.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to have my hand on the bell that you have to, by that point.
I don't know if I like this pressure.
Okay. Atlanta Dream, over, under 18.5 wins.
Over.
Because?
I just think they're on a great trajectory. That's all I got because I'm scared that the bell's going to get wrong.
Chicago Sky, 16.5, over, under.
Under.
Because? You're not buying it.
Yeah.
Connecticut Sun, 22.5, over, under.
Could I just say agree?
Over, under.
Under.
Because,
No. Over.
Because?
Steph White, haven't played for her. I know how great of a coach she is. I think she is going to utilize AT in all the right ways. And I still think they have the pieces to compete as a great team.
Love. Dallas Wings, 19.5, over or under?
Under.
Because?
I just don't know what they're doing. They drafted a player that can't even play.
Yeah, they did do that in the first round. I never know what they're doing.
You can't trust them. They're not trustworthy.
Indiana Fever. My sweet Indiana Fever. 9.5.
I'm sorry, I have to laugh.
It's just I have a whole board under here, and it's the only one with a single digit. 9.5.
Under.
Oh, how many?
7.
Oh,
No, they're not gonna be 7 and 30. Honestly, I don't. They might.
Oh,
They might.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh.
Sorry.
Aces 30.5. Over or under?
Over.
Because
I just think they play too well together, and they're added Candace Parker.
enough said. Los Angeles Sparks over or under 16.5.
I think I'm gonna go over. I think LA is going to surprise some people this year.
Because
Kurt is a good coach. I think
yes,
the time had just ran out in Connecticut. It wasn't a good fit. I think Nneka is always going to give you what Nneka does. I think De'Eric is a big piece for them. So yes,
Minnesota Lynx over under 17.5.
Trying to think who's on their team. I'm gonna go under.
Because not enough. They didn't add enough in that offseason.
Yeah, they didn't make enough moves. I mean,
they get Nafisa Collier back though.
Reeves is a good coach, but I just don't see it.
Okay, New York Liberty over under 30.5, same as the Aces.
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under
because
obviously on paper they look like a great team, but I am not so completely sold on them being this dominant team that people think they're going to be.
So cohesiveness problem?
A little bit of cohesiveness problem. I think there's going to be some folks that with their new role adjustment that might be cause some issues. I'm worried about them on the defensive end I mean, Sloot and Sabrina. I'm going at them every time. So yeah, I just don't think they're going to be that dominant team I think they're obviously going to be a very good team, a title contender, but I don't think they're going to do it in dominating fashion.
Fair take. Phoenix Mercury 21.5, over or under?
I'm going under on that.
Because
DT, I mean, she's 41. DT's going to do DT things, but we saw last year, a lot of times she shot them out of games.
True.
Not knowing how BG is going to look. And then other than those are those two pieces. Skylar's not, I just don't think they have the pieces.
A lot happening. Final two. I should also reenact my rule. Seattle Storm over under 13.5.
Over.
Because
I just think they're going to surprise people. And I kind of have a soft spot for Seattle for some reason.
Drew Lloyd's going to dominate. I'm very excited. And the final one, Washington Mystics over under 24.5.
I'm going to go over. I think the Mystics are the sleeper team this season.
Say more, because
I think the Mystics have, if the stars were aligned, I feel like that's my new favorite thing to say.
You are a stars are aligned person.
Okay, guys, give me something else in the comments to say other than the stars are aligned. They're a team that have been together for a long time. They know each other well. EDD said she plans on playing every game. Having KT back, whether KT is at her top playing level or not, her experience coaching in the NBA the last 6-7 years, and me having played with her in college and in the professional, KT is a very smart player. So I think, again, even if she's not on the court, where she can bring from a coaching standpoint, will be very helpful. And I think they have some good pieces. I'm excited to see how Shakira Austin does this year. And then, I mean, they have a good team.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because you said under on the Liberty and you said over on the Mystics. Do you see a universe in which the Mystics are the number 2 seed in a playoffs versus the Liberty?
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Damn. That'd be interesting.
I can see that.
That would be spicy.
I can see that. I think we've kind of jumped on the Liberty train so quickly. I mean, it's easy to do. I mean, we were hyped about. I mean, you have JJ, you have Stewie, you have Sloot now, you have Sabrina. Did I miss somebody?
Elijah?
Yeah, they have a very, very great team, but again, it's just not. It's easy and cut and dry. It's all right. It's a lot of scorers on that team, and not a lot. And I think the difference between the additions of Stewie and JJ to the Liberty versus the addition of Candace to the Aces is that Candace at the point in her career, I believe, where she just wants to win. It's not about her getting her numbers anymore. She's about enjoying her basketball, trying to get another ring, being close to her family, and fitting in. I don't think Candace came to the Aces and wants to be the number 1 scoring option.
Sure.
I think she came in wanting to win.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, and she'll get in where she fits in. I think with the Liberty, you still have 3 scorers in JJ, Sabrina, and Stewie that are all in their primes.
Oh yeah.
And JJ hasn't won, Sabrina hasn't won. So it's like,
I agree.
Who's going to take the back seat?
The Liberty Fit is going to be very interesting. I think we're going to monitor it literally game by game all year, which hopefully
we need like a Matt and Marissa Liberty tracker. Nirvana?
That would be just like the vibes tracker. Like we're gonna read into everything. Like did Sabrina like her post? Like did Stewie tag her in that?
and you and Nirvana are such great Instagram. Listen, you guys need to order. You guys need to start your own investigation services because guys, I literally watched them. We were talking about somebody, not in a bad way. We were trying to find out some information. I literally watched them for an hour.
We knew
the deepest of dives. They were on somebody's great uncle's cousin's wife's page, and then somehow found the information
we were like,
what do you need?
We were like, what do you need? I will find it. You go. We knew where to go. We knew what social media apps to hit.
So if you
and we are not the wildest people in the WNBA social media space. Like there are people who know how to do stuff deeper than we do. It will be dug out. I promise. There are a group of people who will dig it out.
Oh man.
All right. Thanks for another fun episode of watching the show with us.
Tell your friends about us.
Tell your friends. I'm so excited for the season. We're going to come at you with a lot. Oh, wait. The other thing I'm missing is the game launch. Oh! If you have not seen, you should very quickly go to the Gaming Society's social media channels and sign up and play our free-to-play predictive game, which is a whole lot of fun via Kiro, our good pals. Mm-hmm. You answer like 5 trivia questions before the week starts. Then you come back for the marquee events and answer live questions as the game is going on. Like stuff super live, as in like, will Diana Taurasi hit the next shot kind of live, which is a lot of fun. You can win some prizes along the way, and there's no real risk there. You play for free.
Super cool. You play for free during the game. You can talk to folks in the chat.
Hundo P. You'll see us there too. Anyway, gotta go. Thanks for coming.
Peace.
Bye.